Yo, 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 what is up? What is up? YouTube boxing family. All right, can y'all hear me? All right, sweet. All right, how's it going, YouTube boxing family? It's K right here, back at it with another boxing content for y'all today. All right, yeah, man, we're gonna be covering the Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo post fight thoughts. I'm gonna get my initial thoughts on some other cards that I watched before the Canelo fight. I was just gonna talk about a couple fights with the UK cards that happened with Caroline Dubois and Jordan Thompson, which I don't really care for him. But before I do that, I got D Hive in the building. Yo, what's up, D?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
It's all right.
Oh man, oh man, last night was a shocker.
Not for me. It was unfortunate, but there's only really two ways it could have gone, and it went the way that most people predicted it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, well,
Before, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I don't know how most people saw it, but number one, this is someone that's two weight classes below Canelo. Number two, this is the first fight on a multi-fight deal. I'm not sure what anyone else saw happening. I mean, I was hoping Charlo wouldn't get in there and lay a stinker just for the paycheck, but that was the most likely situation, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible because I thought Charlo was gonna perform a lot better, and it just felt like that I was just watching like a movie in front of me, like like it just felt like it was just heavily scripted.
Yeah, it was obvious that they weren't even trying to hurt each other. And it's funny because people talking about, oh, Canelo's domination, he's the GOAT, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you can tell that even Canelo was holding back. I mean, Charlo wasn't doing anything, but even Canelo was holding back on him because you could tell the difference when Canelo is trying to get someone out of there and when Canelo's just fucking around trying to box. Like, for example, look at the fight with Callum Smith and look at the fight with John Ryder. He was legitimately trying to stop those dudes. That's why there was a lot of blood involved and shit got nasty. With Charlo, walking at him with his hands down, following him around the ring instead of stepping over and cutting the ring off, just looking at him, throwing a few combinations on the ropes, but nothing major. Like, come on, bro. It was just whack.
Yeah. Before I dive in deeper to the card, I just wanted to ask, did you see some of the fights on the British cards with Caroline Dubois, right?
I did. I watched most of them. It was crazy how Jairo Tapia annihilated Jordan Thompson. I
Yeah.
knew that I picked Jai to win because Jordan Thompson was inexperienced and not that good. But damn, I didn't think he would smoke him like that. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, I don't think Jai's that good. I think he would get easily knocked out.
By
But
by who?
um honestly, yeah, that's a pretty good point because there's really nobody good yet at cruiserweight. I think Jai Opatai he could easily get undisputed because I don't see Chris Bill and Smith doing anything. I think he's gonna get clipped off. But yeah, Jai Opatai he looks to be like the best fighter right now.
I mean, like he's like the division is what it is. I mean, he's cool. There's that Armenian guy that lives in Germany. His last name is too long for me to pronounce right now. But I mean, I think his first name is Arson. But
Oh,
there's
okay.
him. Yeah, there's him, and then there's Billing Smith, and because that cruiser was Okoli, right?
Yeah, Lawrence O'Connell he's done. He
Yeah,
lost.
right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say Jio Tapai is bad, but I mean, yeah, the cruiserweight division is just it's lacking. It's pre heavyweight, so much like it suffers the same issues that heavyweight does. There's a lack of athleticism. There's a lack of American talent, which means there's a lack of promotion. And I still have yet to watch the Brandon Glanton versus Light fight because people were telling me that was a robbery, and and that was a political robbery down there on Pro Box. I still have yet to watch that fight. I gotta find it somewhere where I can rewatch it. But
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, I enjoyed the fight. The card was cool, and I saw Caroline Dubois. Yeah, she showed a few wrinkles. She didn't. She got hit good a few times by that chick. She, failed to keep her hands up. She was over reliant on her power. She got caught a couple times, especially toward the end. Especially toward the end of the fight.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was interesting when
yeah,
she got rocked and sent toward the ropes. I was like, ooh, that was just a lack of defensive responsibility. But still enjoyable. She's definitely better than Daniel. Shit, she needs to teach Daniel how
yeah,
to fucking box.
yeah. Yeah, she like I just think like she's falling in love with her power too much. So I think like eventually she's gonna get caught with something huge to get herself knocked out. So we'll
Well, I
see.
mean, very few women are cracking like that. So I'm not sure she gets knocked out, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Like I was just gonna probably like hover over to the Canelo card, and then I'll talk about the other cards, later. But yeah. I guess I'll start with the preliminaries. Did you see Jermell Martin fight his debut?
Was that one shown on YouTube?
I don't think so, no. But I know that he got like a first round KO or TKO victory.
Yeah, I saw highlights. I didn't see it on YouTube. I had to watch some highlights on Instagram. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, he looks that's like most people's debut. They just get some dude that he can easily run over. So that doesn't really tell me anything. I mean, he looked how he normally does in sparring. He just jabs his way in and then overwhelms people on the ropes and lets off a lot of combinations. So yeah, that's not a shocker. His first fight. So yeah, I mean, not really anything to report there. I don't understand the tank comparisons. I've watched them both spar, and now I've watched them both fight, and maybe at some point Moten will develop a more tank-like style, but that's not what I'm seeing right now. So
yeah,
but he
yeah.
seems
Like
cool.
I think Martin, he's a good fighter. It's just that he just needs to take his time, just keep getting better, and I think he'll become a champion, real soon. Like I really wanted to see like that whole deal with the Lee Wood situation, but I
Well,
think
Lee Wood isn't good. I think Moten. That's why they talk shit to Lee Wood because Lee Wood isn't that good.
yeah. That's why that I wanted to see Martin fight him because if he did beat him, he would have actually made history. He would have been the very first American world champion to be the youngest champion and the very first ever champion, if I'm not mistaken, to win a title in their very first ever fight.
Yeah, no, Lee Wood isn't crazy. He's like, why would you set yourself up for that kind of embarrassment? Like, because the thing is, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're fighting some unknown kid, and if you were to knock him out, you wouldn't get any respect for it. That'd be some bullshit. And if
Yeah,
you lose, that's even more embarrassing. So yeah, no, Lee Wood is smart for not taking that shit.
yeah, because the difference is like Martin preparing for Lee Wood for a 12 round fight and beating him is actually more interesting on his resume versus like if Lee Wood knocks him out spark cold and then he beats the crap out of him, then it's like a lose win situation.
Yeah, no, he would get no points for that. He was a child with no experience. You fought a dude just because Floyd said he was good, and then you, yeah, win or lose, it would look bad.
Yeah, I just find it crazy because Martin, like I wasn't thinking that the power was going to like be like super duper crazy, in which he has good exceptional power, showing out of his debut. And I do think like as the competition gets tougher, I think his biggest threat that's going to probably beat him one day would probably be maybe like a guy like I'd probably say maybe like Zaquin Moses. I think maybe some of his amateur contemporaries can very well beat him one day.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I personally, I like what I see from him, but I don't see someone that's exceptional. Yet maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I don't see someone I do see him a cut above the standard field. Don't get it twisted. But as far as him being some kind of like potential all-time great or whatever, because being a superstar does not require you to be the most skilled fighter on planet. That's been proven by multiple different people. So as far as his actual skill set goes, he's nothing that I haven't seen before. So
Yeah,
yeah. So we'll have to see. I mean, guys got to remember, Floyd fucking signed Rolly Romero. So people keep saying, "Oh, he has the Floyd stamp of approval." Rolly has the Floyd stamp of approval, and Rolly is one of the least talented fighters in boxing today. So what does that tell you? Guys just go
yeah,
along with whatever the fuck Floyd says because Floyd said it, and I'm like, no one's saying that Floyd doesn't know boxing, but Floyd signs people for different reasons. Just because he's signing, like Floyd signs people based on their marketability, it's not necessarily based on their skill set. He tried to sign Haney and Shakur, and that didn't work. They went elsewhere. So it's like y'all got to just calm down and let motherfuckers develop. Like people talking about how good Keyshawn is and shit, and it's like, oh my god, okay.
yeah. I just think, the reputation of Floyd Mayweather fighters of how they've been developing over the past couple years hasn't been that good, and I would like to see Mayweather fighters become like heavily accomplished, but it's just like the political movement of how they're moving, and I don't think that we've ever really seen a good TMT promoted fighter that has actually done really good, in the professional stage.
Well, Floyd's biggest concern is return on investment, and that's how he trains his guys. He trains his guys to make their careers as easy as possible while maximizing the return because people are going to hate you regardless. Floyd, because of the standard of boxing fan, the limited exposure to social media, and the more limited avenues to make more money, Floyd had no choice but to fight the best. These guys today have different options. You can make money doing plenty of other stuff. It's all about promotion, and you can get promotion simply based on popularity. You don't actually have to fight the best anymore because the new age of boxing fan is mostly kids that started watching boxing during the pandemic. A lot of the older people who actually pay for boxing have either stopped paying for as much boxing as they used to, ventured to other sports, or dropped the sport altogether. So there are more avenues to making more money, especially when you have Twitter paying people for engagement. You have Instagram paying people for engagement. Most of those users are not older people; they're younger people. So that's the reality of the situation now.
Yeah, I just hate how that the social media culture has really destroyed boxing because I'm starting to see like that women that watch guys talk about boxing, they just take talking points out of what men say, and then when they start to make content, they start lying about certain things that casuals say, and then they just keep acting as if that's what every boxing fan acts like, and it's like you guys are not making the sport better. And plus, most of these people, I kid you not, like even back when I went to go do that media thing over in Orlando for the Richardson Hitchens versus Jose Zapata fight, I was like talking with like some of like the media people that were like quote unquote independent media. Most of these guys don't even know how to box. They're not even smart in boxing. They're just doing it for clicks and likes.
As far as I'll say this, and I mean this with all due respect, the female fighters and coaches, they're not included in this. They are actual professionals who know and understand the sport and should have a voice when it comes to boxing, boxing media, boxing promotion, and boxing politics and business. Now, the most popular women when it comes to talking boxing, whether it be podcasting, media, whatever, the majority of them got their access simply based on more than likely their looks and their connection to a man that's already in the industry. Some of them are just sleeping with the boxers. Some of them might even be in relationships or married to the boxers. Some of them come from other journalistic platforms, but 9 times out of 10, it's just a job to them. It's kind of like when you bring someone in who simply went to college for journalism and put them on the desk of ESPN. Like, look at Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman is a failed writer who graduated from an Ivy League school and moved to Los Angeles to write about films. He was a failed writer. He was a failed rapper, and he just started talking about sports. That's usually the journey that a lot of the women that talk about boxing take. The difference is, though, they get their in from sleeping with someone that's already in the industry, or they get their in based on the promise of some dude, someone might want to sleep with them at some point. That's the unfortunate reality. And a lot of the ones on YouTube, yeah, they're just trying to jump. They're just trying to jump on the train for likes and clicks and an alternative stream of income because things are getting difficult. And they know that if someone specifically a man comes out and tells them to shut the fuck up because they don't know what they're talking about, they'll just cry and say, "Oh, you're a sexist, you're a messiah, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that." Even though men say that to each other, so it's just something that they're trying to capitalize on. But like I said, I take nothing away from the female coaches, the female fighters, the business people that are actually in the sport. This is why Jake Paul is the one of the best female boxing promoters in the sport, as opposed to another woman. And keep in mind, Jake Paul isn't Bob Arum. Jake Paul isn't Al Heyman. Jake Paul didn't have years of boxing experience in the industry. So you can't say he had some fucking power. He was just some goddamn YouTuber who decided to start fighting MMA people, and then he used some of his money to promote the women. The women don't spend the money on each other. They don't spend their money on promoting each other. No, they wait for somebody else to fucking do it. So that's just an example. That's just an example of what I mean. Most of these chicks, like you said, they're just talking for clicks and likes, and their introduction is through some other man. Even some of the YouTubers got built off just constantly getting promoted by somebody else. Somebody else certified them, so now they inherit residual clout. They weren't actual fans. They just found an avenue that worked. And you can tell because you're right. All they do is repeat talking points from other places, post, copy, and paste some videos, and then pretend that they're aficionados. Meanwhile, half their picks be wrong. More than half their picks be wrong. So, yeah, but it is what it is.
Yeah, like I just find it crazy, man, because honestly, most of these like people that just be talking boxing, they don't really know what they're really saying because it's like more to do with like how people try to facilitate argumentation based off of what the massive majority says. So therefore, that's where people will come with those baseless claims to say that this fighter is better than this fighter because everybody else says so. And then, therefore, when it comes to a gender popularity contest, people will just use a lot of dramatic, argumentation points.
Yeah, this is why social media has become an important battleground for information, because the casuals control the discourse. And I don't simply mean because casuals outnumber hardcore boxing fans, even though that's true too. What I mean is a lot of these people are relying on casual attention to boost engagement to the social media platforms. So they have to parrot what casuals like to say, and they have to parrot what casuals like to hear. That's mostly what I mean when I say casuals control the discourse. Now, are there a few unbiased journalists out there who actually have some an objective lens of the sport based on observation and a long period of knowledge? Sure, there are very few and far in between, and most of them don't get the attention that they should. You know, but yeah, it's very difficult, and that's why even when it comes to the female boxers, there's often discussions about pay disparity. But it's weird because as a man, I watch more female boxing than every female that I know. Most women that I know do not watch sports in general, let alone fucking women's sports. The only time they tune in is around the fucking Olympics. So it's like if you want to close the pay disparity, then you have to stop marketing boxing to men and start marketing boxing to women. Like the whole everybody having OnlyFans and everybody having sex appeal, that's cool. I don't mind. Make your money, boo boo. I'm never going to tell a woman to put her clothes back on because I like looking at it. But it's not going to make me pay for the fights. It's not going to boost my personal viewership. And a lot of these dudes are just going to watch the weigh-ins, but they don't care about you as a fighter. So you might as well just become a fucking model. And that's what a lot of these chicks are starting to do. They just want to get into boxing to build up their profiles. They can pivot off into something else. Like Ebony Bridges was a teacher and a failed bodybuilder. She got into boxing, to boost her profile, and now she's on OnlyFans and she's like pivoting into other shit. She's not about to be no boxer. Like look at Paige Van Zant. Paige Van Zant tried to be a fighter. she was kind of good, but she wasn't that good. And now she's doing OnlyFans. So a lot of these people are just pivoting, using boxing to pivot off into other things. That's why the women are not accumulating like 20-0 records or 30-0 records anymore. They're doing like 12, 10, 12 fights, and then they're becoming models and shit. So, that kind of takes away from the legitimacy of it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's just disappointing because with all these like female fighters that that I'd be supporting and I actually be like critical and objective about them. It seems like the people that hate on you are usually like the ones that don't want help, and the ones that actually do support you are the ones that actually side with the men that actually care about their careers and want to make the sport better.
Yeah, um, yeah. I mean, everyone's times are too hard to try to. Economic times are too difficult for people to try to remain on the moral high ground and preserve the sportsmanship and preserve the sort of righteous identity of boxing. People are just trying to scrounge for a buck, and I don't hate on it. I don't hate on it. I completely understand it. But it's just like, don't be surprised if the support wavers off, because at the end of the day, people pay a lot of good money for boxing, whether it be just because they want something to do or because they're actually invested in, in human athletic competition. But if you start disrespecting all the fans, because like most of the casuals don't have any fucking money. Let's get that straight. Most of the casuals are fucking children that have to ask their parents, can they go see boxing or can we buy this pay per view? Blah 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 blah. Well, that's another thing. But if you lose touch with all the hardcores and you just transition and you want to make all your money on YouTube engagement, et cetera, that's fine. I understand. But don't be surprised if over time it wavers off and it just becomes another social media fad. Like that's why a lot more boxing platforms are consistently live streaming shit on YouTube, because they're relying more on engagement, because they know a lot of people are not buying this shit no more. So they have to find other ways of revenue generation. Like even Showtime used to never do that. Now they're putting prelims on YouTube because the Zone started doing it. And then you got the Zone X series on YouTube. Then you got Pro Box on YouTube. Then you got Golden Boy fights on YouTube. All these fights during the week now, just fights on fights on fights, trying to get streaming dollars and maybe super chats and shit like that, because the traditional models aren't working anymore, and you're turning boxing into a fad. You're turning boxing into just one of those trends. And and unfortunately, like all trends, eventually, if you keep fucking around, it's going to go away. Not only for other sports like basketball, football, have they, because boxing and boxing and professional basketball and football, they're almost the same fucking age. But the difference is, not only is there bigger organizations behind basketball, football, they're lower contact sports and things like that, but the athletic identity, the importance of human competition, the partisanship, the tribalism is much better and easier to follow. Not only because it's tied to geography, like they represent different areas and cities, back teams and shit like that, whereas fighters are individuals, but it's just they haven't turned it into a fucking sideshow. And all the sideshow shit they keep separate, like lingerie football. The NFL don't be fucking promoting that bullshit. They keep the shit straight. They don't talk about, oh, we need this, we need that. Like, yeah, they talk about some shit where they're like, oh, we need some female coaches or whatever, but they're not talking about starting no female at quarterback, because they're real about how this shit fucking works. They're not entertaining all these fads and spin-offs and shit. So hey, like I said, make your money, but if you want to turn this shit into some trendy shit, be prepared for it to fall off. Is what it is.
Yeah, because I don't, I won't have, any sympathy for, any sports falling off, because if the consumers don't like it anymore, then that's pretty much it. People will find different interests and people will go to other, skill sets and different likings to create like a better community. I would even compare, well, like I would contrast with like what's happening on boxing compared to like, I'll just use like BKFC for bare knuckle boxing. Like that's growing like consistently fast, and you have guys that are former MMA retired fighters getting into the sport, and but the community is perfectly fine. Like people support all the best fights being made, and there's no controversy of like this guy is better than that guy, and like like basically to support your argument, like consumers will naturally go to certain interests that will keep, communities like very stable. And until there's like a breaking point, if people don't like it anymore, they will find other, likes and interests to create a better community if they don't like, previous old activities that were not, as good to them, compared to the past.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But yeah, and it's funny because, especially like you mentioned, when it comes to journalism, most people aren't paying for any journalism anymore. Like the subscriptions, most people don't even entertain that. So yeah, when it comes to boxing media, if you're not just going to report the facts and just keep people on an information basis, the narrative pushing has definitely become more popular to get more eyes on it. Like websites like Boxing Scene, they just keep you posted on the day to day events. But like when it comes to shit like Ring Magazine, how they're still operational, I have no idea. But they have to maintain some sort of propaganda in order to maintain whatever viewership or readership that they actually have. Because I don't know. I've never purchased a Ring magazine. I've never, like, even before I knew what they really were. Like I just thought Ring magazine was just a magazine for boxing. I didn't know it was I didn't know it was a repository for for bigots and propagandists when it came to boxing. Like all that shit about boxing. Like I knew race mattered, but I didn't discover how weird it was, especially in the United States, probably until like 2016, 2017. That's when it started to hit me like, oh my God, like this shit is terrible. I could feel the switch after Mayweather's career when he knocked off Canelo and Pacquiao, because that was when there was like the most racial tension. Like both groups wanted to kill black people, and I was fine with that because that makes sense. But after, I was like, wait, hold on. Why is there like race involved with like these little ass dudes? Like, why is there race involved with the Charlo brothers? Why is there race involved with Well, I guess no, Wilder was heavyweight champion, so that makes sense. It's heavyweight. But like all these other dudes, I'm like, what the fuck? Why was like Timothy Bradley? Like, who gives a fuck, man? Like, why, why are there racial tensions over Tim Bradley? Like, nobody cares. So yeah, it was just weird when I discovered what they were. But yeah, no, the media isn't doing anything any good, and the media doesn't work hard to actually discover the truth. They find a narrative that's popular and then they push it. Like the whole Bud's being avoided by everybody thing. What the fuck? Like that was based on absolutely nothing. And even now, after we got that fight, Bud came out and said that like no one would, like, actually nobody was avoiding him, but people didn't push that. They just kept talking about how Bud was avoided. I'm like, Bud finally admitted, oh yeah, nobody was ducking me. Because to be honest, if there was a time to avoid Bud, it would have been now. It would have been now, after Spence had gone through everything he's gone through, after all the fucking repeated injuries mounting up, and Bud is finally here in the division. Bud's finally a free agent. The time to avoid Bud, if you were really trying to protect Spence, would have been now. You wouldn't choose to sign the fight now. But nobody was avoiding him. That's the reality. So yeah, so boxing media doesn't work hard enough to push back on a lot of the false narratives. They just find whichever narrative is popular and then push that one for additional, views and clicks, because that's how everything is moving now. No, the direct subscription base where people go to purchase units of these items, whether that be pay-per-views, magazines, etc. That market is very quickly drying up and only being reserved to the very few fighters like Canelo, Spence, Tank, Wilder. Yeah, that literally might be it. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, it's just terrible, man, because it's just like, if boxing never had all that crap, media, would actually be a lot more honest, and, you would actually get proper news, and you wouldn't have to be listening to any big network. More people would be, like engaged in like independent media platforms like YouTube or any other platforms that are more, accessible to information. And better yet, most fighters and managements and promoters, they usually go to YouTube to find out about any behind the scenes knowledge in certain boxing engagements. So it's like, like if people really want to make a change, people will naturally come together for it. But I guess as it stands, There's just too much, toxic, behavior where people are just doing it for, desperation and trying to make, money out of it just to fool the fans and just make the sport watered down.
Right. Yeah. Like the first, I don't. I keep forgetting. I don't remember if it was Jim Lampley or or no, I think Larry Merchant. Like, I mean, we all know Bob. Bob is a 100-year-old white man, so we all know he's racist. But dudes like Larry Merchant, were in Floyd's era. They were, putting out the bias stuff, but a lot of that was just for the television, and a lot of the media writers didn't actually run with it. What happened was because number one, HBO. So the turn of the 21st century, when HBO first picked up Max Kellerman, that's the guy who ushered in the new generation as far as bias narrative. Excuse me, bias narrative pushing. That's the new guy. When Max Kellerman, because like I said, Max Kellerman graduated from Columbia University, and he moved to LA to become a writer. His degree was in history. He moved to LA to become a writer. He tried to be a rapper. None of it worked, and he just he was a white dude, relatively decent looking. He had a good speaking voice, so he got hired on television and started talking sports like out of nowhere. So Max Kellerman is a lot of people's introduction to boxing media because him and Roy Jones used to talk on HBO, and I'm pretty sure Roy Jones got tired of his ass, and they probably kept fighting. So, because I can always tell that like Max Kellerman would be saying these things, trying to disagree with Roy. Keep in mind, Roy Jones is one of the single most famous professional boxers to ever live, and Max Kellerman's talking shit to him. And I keep having to reiterate this because a lot of people don't know, but Max Kellerman's brother was in Los Angeles, and he was murdered by a black professional boxer. I mean, that's the guy who got convicted. Who actually killed him, that's between him and the actual murderer. But the person that was convicted of killing Max Kellerman's brother was a black professional boxer. Now, people can say what they want, but I'm pretty sure things like that leave a lasting impact on a person. And if that person has constant access to a microphone, I'm pretty sure that they're going to put their personal feelings behind the things that they say. And that's mostly been true. Like, look at how Max Kellerman talks about guys like Lomachenko. Like, I'm pretty confident outside from him and maybe fucking Teddy Atlas, they are single-handedly responsible, for turning Lomachenko into a god. He's lost 3 fucking times, and people still believe he's the best lightweight in the world, that he's some kind of top pound-for-pound fucking material. Like, it's unbelievable. So they ushered in that type of just fantasy storytelling and giving boxers certain godlike identities mostly based on race. They know that as long as you're not some black dude or Afro-Caribbean or Afro-Latino in the United States, because Caucasians have plenty of other ways to make money, you'll be a god here. Like Triple G is a god here. Fucking Lomachenko's a god here. Like Usyk don't have that much popularity here, but among some of the hardcore fans in the United States, Tyson Fury's a god here. I mean, if you even remember, Danny Jacobs is from fucking New York. Triple G is from Kazakhstan. Who gives a fuckistan? And people in the crowds were cheering for Triple G in New York when they fought at MSG. So that tells you everything you need to know about the power of these people. And the casuals are just doubling down because just even if you look at the demographic changes in the United States, we don't even need to get into that. But we know what flavor most of the casuals come in these days. So yeah, but. Boxing media going down the toilet is not a bad thing, but it taking boxing with it sucks to see.
Yeah, it's just trash. But even if boxing does that, I think that will benefit, like the things that actually do care about it. And then, when boxing has this like pendulum swing where, like, let's just say, after we pass away, like MMA takes over and therefore boxing is completely dead, then that would actually try to like create some form of like a change in like fan base where people will actually conglomerate their own type of competitive functions. And I think like that's what boxing needs. Like if we could get like just competitive fights like every single weekend where it's just all good fights and there's just no garbage fights being put on TV, then that's perfectly fine, because like that's what keeps let the hardcores, together, and on top of that, if you're, being consistent with having like positive fan bases, collectivize more rather than having like all the toxic, weird, casual boxing fans, ruin the sport, then I think that's where, like a better long term effect might change, boxing. But I say until then, boxing is just going through, like the dark moments because it's like, there's too many, idiots that are just trying to ruin it.
Hmm. Well, I can tell you that most of MMA's fan base are the pretty much like 90% of MMA's fan bases are the like the tiny contingent of boxing fans that make everything horrible, like the very small, like the 5%, the small very vocal 5% of I'll say 10%, I'll be generous, the very small but vocal 10% of boxing fans that make everything miserable. Well, I can tell you that little small group in boxing is like 95% of MMA fans. And that's one of the reasons why it's usually not as much money. Not just because of the management issues, because there's only like one major promoter in the United States for MMA, which is UFC. I mean, PFL is rivaling them. And in Asia, they have something called One Championship or whatever that pays pretty well, all things considered. Um, but no, that's 95% of MMA fans. All those dudes, most of those dudes are like weird alt-right QAnon, Joe Rogan worshiping weirdos, and they don't have a lot of money to pay for. Yeah, they don't have a lot of money to pay for sports.
That's
So if
just
you
so
start,
pathetic.
huh?
Oh no, I was just adding on to your point. Like that's just so pathetic that people out of that family, be coming out like that.
Yeah, no, that particular demographic of people doesn't have a lot of money to even additionally pay for sports. Most of them are in bad shape, and also I think we can all admit that MMA for the most part is less pleasing to watch. But especially when it comes to because most people don't really understand the dynamics of grappling or wrestling, and most people don't care to watch that stuff. Um, and also because there are more pathways to victory in MMA, so it's very difficult. It's very difficult to tell who's actually good unless the same people fight like three or four fucking times, and like no one wants to see that. Like it's very random, and also it's more difficult to bet on. Betting on MMA is very hard for most people because literally anything can happen. Like oh shit. Like yeah, like literally anything can happen. Like someone in the first 5 seconds of a fight can get lucky and roll someone into a weird fucking pinky lock, and then the fight is over. Like so, it's like playing the lottery. So for those reasons, yeah, MMA is going to have a very difficult time passing up boxing because there's less finality to it. A lot of it is less definitive. There's too many fucking variables, and there's like yeah, it's just yeah. Like I said, it's not as pleasing to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. I was gonna probably talk about like the Canelo card about more fights on the card. Did you watch Frank Sanchez fight Scott Alexander?
Yes, sir, I did, and boy, oh boy, that was interesting.
Yeah,
you know,
I think-
I'm one,
yeah.
I'm one of the few people that actually like Frank Sanchez, but yeah, he got caught and almost almost fucked up there, and he got rocked pretty hard, pretty tough on the inside by that right hand that Franklin threw. So that was interesting. But his management team is doing him a very great disservice because he went from a major step up fight, beating up Fa Jagba, and now he's back on the prelims. I don't know what the fuck they got going on over there, but they need to fix it.
Yeah, I do believe Frank Sanchez needs to be a little bit more serious with his, um, career and not try to focus so much on, just like fighting like anybody, and then potentially getting exposed to lose. I do believe that Scott Alexander is a game heavyweight, but the issue that I had with this matchup was like, why would you put heavyweights on? The preliminary, knowing that like Scott Alexander, he's not like the greatest of all heavyweights, but he's good enough to be put on like a main card to open up at least. And I think that would have been a little bit more pleasing to the fans to give Frank Sanchez more exposure. And I think like from here on out, like Frank Sanchez needs to stay busy with top level guys.
I mean, that's true, but also I'm not going to sit here and say that Frank Sanchez is some boogeyman, but also a lot of those dudes got to want to fight him. Like I'm pretty sure like he's tried to fight guys like Andy Ruiz, maybe a guy like Philip Hergovic, but you know how Cubans get disrespected when they're first coming up. People say, "Oh, I don't want to fight them. Nobody knows them. They have a boring style. They're too old, so if I beat them, they won't get any credit." Like you know how it is. So especially with Cubans, it happened with Lar for a little bit, happened with Luis Ortiz until Wilder gave him an opportunity. And even like David Morrell Jr., like he's fucking Cuban and ain't nobody really trying to fight him like that. Benavidez and what's his name, Samson, we're talking all that good shit about how a deal was done. Now all of a sudden Benavidez is fighting Andrade out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, so how the fuck did that happen? Samson said that you had a deal signed, sealed, and delivered, and all you had to do was pick the location, and now all of a sudden you backtrack from that to go fight Andrade? Some dude who's just coming up from middleweight who fought, who went the distance with one guy. I'm like, yeah, so people be knowing what it is. Like, I'm not saying Frank Martin is some all-star Cuban, because my personal favorite Cuban heavyweight right now is Linier Piro, who just had a fight on Friday at like some random ass casino because he's trying to stay busy and get bread. But there's the matter of his management team moving him accordingly and people all actually wanting to fight him. Because up until that point, nobody had really done F.A. Ajagba like that. F.A. Ajagba was undefeated, and people thought he was like Wilder Jr., but, then he went in there and made F.A. look super regular. So, people noticed.
Yeah, it's just crazy because like Cubans are good, but I think they're just missing like just like the fan excitement. Like I think it's just like there's very few Cubans like a David Morrell that will come once every couple decades or so, and it's like that's pretty much it. Like most of them are too associated with the amateur style, and I don't know if I told you, like back in August when I went to go see Nestor Bravo at the Caribe Royale, I actually saw Yoenis Telez there, and I asked him like how difficult was it to get over here to the U.S. by defection, and he told me that it was mad difficult because over in Cuba, like I know that I saw like some article back in the past saying that boxing fights are now being sanctioned over there, but I think due to massive political corruption, they're still being treated like crap over there. But for the fighters that actually are good that are coming over here to the states to train, they have great skills, but it's just simply due to a lot of like bad actors that are ruining their careers, and therefore they don't know what to do properly because it's like, for one, like you said, like they're trying to stay busy, they're trying to get that money, so therefore they can pay their bills and try to at least sustain. But it's like the avenues to take are very risky and very lackluster because it's like the people that are managing their careers and the team that they have around them, they're not all on the same page, and there's a lot of room for corruption for them to potentially have their careers tampered with.
I could agree with that, but it's like I'm not saying it's not difficult. It clearly is difficult, but I'm not sure that the punishment they get when they get caught is really anything. Because Ugas said it took him 6 fucking times to get to the United States. So I'm like, at no point were you ever thrown in jail? Was your family ever threatened? I literally think they just take you and throw you back to where you were because Ugas said he was captured like 5 or 6 times until he finally made it on the sixth try. So I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm just saying that I don't think that the punishment is, as extreme as people make it out. Like they're not torturing people. Like Morrell literally FaceTimes his kids that he got back there. Ugas FaceTimes his kids that they have back there. And even though I know that the government is monitoring the internet, so I just think they do their best to keep their talent in house. But one of the primary issues is that Cuba doesn't have the economic development to support any sort of growing professional boxing apparatus. Not only do they have a poor immigration relationship with most of the developed world, but they have a poor trade relationship with most of the developed world due to United States sanctions. And anyone who deals with Cuba while United States sanctions are in place obviously runs afoul of any good faith that they may have with the United States. So they just don't have the economic platform and the economic development to be able to support a functional professional athletic scene of any type of sport. And so yeah, so that's the number one thing. And number two, once they do get here, it's very important to take stock of what you have and make sure you can make that successful transition from amateur to pro style. One of the people that struggled to do that at first was none other than Rabezi Ramirez, because he lost his first and second fight or some shit like that, and then he had to make some serious adjustments, take some time off, and now as we can see, he's very entertaining to watch. He's made a lot of adjustments. He picks his punches better, and he's showing off a lot of power. Andy Cruz, probably saw something like that and is making, the same sort of, he's taking stock in his career and making sure that he partners with a coach that can convert him successfully to the pro style, which is why he's under Bozy Ennis. And Frank Sanchez, and Morrell, I don't know what the hell's going on with Morrell. He came in fighting like a pro. He's just knocking everybody out, putting niggas in comas. I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. He's insane. But what's his name? Frank Sanchez needs to make the same moves. Frank Sanchez is strong. He's fast. He has a very high boxing IQ. Has a very good jab, decent gas tank. It's just from what I've seen, his punch placement is ass. His accuracy, his punch placement and accuracy is ass. He needs to work on those two things. He needs to work on his timing. He needs to work on his jab activity. And that weird shit where he crosses his arms is weird. You need to cut that out. He's wasting fucking energy. And also it causes him to have his hands down toward his chest when they need to be above his head when he's closing the distance between the mid-range and inside the pocket. And and his arms are very long, but he needs to decide if he's going to be all the way in, punch on the inside or hold, or have all the way out and keep your opponent at range. Because the mid-range, when he's doing that weird cross hand thing, that's when he's getting hit. That's when he gets popped a lot. So, he's got to make some important decisions as far as what style he's going to adopt so he can be more entertaining. Because people, despite him having 20 fights in 21 fights now and 16 knockouts, that's a knockout puncher. More than half his fights come by knockout. People say he can't punch. People say he has no power. That's not good. that's not a good thing as a heavyweight. So he's got to make a note of those things and make the adjustments.
Yeah, I just think eventually, he needs to be given, the top level guys, and he needs to, have, like, basically he needs to be more vocal to like let his, fan base, come out a lot larger, because like I do believe like with his lack of, not learning how to speak English, he's not really doing much as far as just saying like, oh well, I want everybody, blah, 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 I want to do this, do that. But it's like, you can only go so far when you have like a translator talk for you. And it's like, eventually people will try to freeze you out. And it's just like, like I think Frank Sanchez deserves a lot better. And like I would hope that he does get his opportunity soon. But, like it just, like it feels weird just seeing him, have fights like this.
Well, hopefully, I mean, in my opinion, Frank Sanchez is a top 10 heavyweight right now, but hopefully rankings wise, this puts him in a position where he can challenge some of the top 10 at the very, at the very least. Like he should, like at this point, he should be fighting Andy Ruiz Jr. But we all know Andy Ruiz Jr. is acting like a little hoe. He thinks that after losing to AJ and his, lackluster performances against Wilder leftovers, he only deserves the big fights, which is insane. I mean, first of all, Wilder is a big fight. And second off, you have to work your way back into position to be getting $20-30 million paydays again. If you don't want to fight anymore and you want to do something else, start acting in movies, start a podcast, do something else. There are plenty of other things now that you're rich and famous that you can pivot to make consistent money without boxing. Just don't try to pretend like you want to be a fighter and then demand all this money. That's not how it fucking works. That's not how it works. Like Ryan Garcia's way back to getting a tank payday, he's going to actually have to put in some work. Okay, like you're not just about to get $30 million every time you fight because you fought some big guy once and that's how much money you got. No, No, because I mean, Andy Ruiz had fans for a while, then he until the AJ rematch, and then all those fans disappeared, and nobody's given a shit since. Like nobody gives a shit. Not even the Mexican fan base gives a shit about Andy Ruiz, and that's a bad thing when you lose your own ethnic group. So yeah, so Frank Sanchez should be fighting guys like that. But in the meantime, Linear Piro, fucking his brother Daniel, Carlos Brazon, other contenders in that area. Unfortunately, you got to keep knocking them off and looking good. Those dudes over there at the zone, like they're unreliable as fuck. Eddie's stable is so fragile. He doesn't want to sacrifice anybody. Like I think a guy like Frank Sanchez can get over on Hergovic. I think a guy like Frank Sanchez fuck around and get over on Zhang and all those and Dubois and all those marginal ass heavyweights they got over there. But we gotta see. We gotta see. We gotta see if he can actually get the fights. Jermaine Franklin is 30. We can see if we can get him in there. Michael Hunter, if Michael Hunter actually wants to fight, he can. We can do that. So yeah, it's just a matter of his team finding steady work for him and keeping his profile growing.
Yeah, hopefully we could see it. Yeah, like I was gonna probably move forward with the other fights that were on the card. How about your take with Mario Barrios versus your Dennis Ugas? Yeah.
Yeah, I pick Barrios to win. Not only because I don't really care for Ugas that much, but because I thought Barrios was younger, fresher, taking less damage, higher rate of punch activity, and I was right. That's basically what happened. Yeah, I mean, Ugas was the favorite, but Ugas is fucking old. He's almost 40. He's running out of time. He just wants to cash out to try to keep his wife. And as soon as he's finished, she probably gonna leave too. And that's no disrespect. That's just what it is. Because I mean, come on, look at her and then look at Ugas. Like, be for real. She needs to. She at some point she's gonna hop off and try to get with like a professional baseball player or some other Cuban athlete or maybe one of them European Formula One niggas. I don't know, but he's just trying to keep the bread coming to keep her happy. But once he retires, that shit is pretty much probably gonna be over with. So yeah, I enjoyed the fight. It was very good. Lots of back and forth action. Barrio started off the first 5 rounds fighting kind of timid, even though he got that knockdown in the first. And then after the next 5, Bob Santos kind of got in his ass and he started putting the pressure on. Definitely kept that jab super active. Make sure to upset Ugas's rhythm. Started mixing it up on the inside, left hooks, uppercuts, some of that body work to get in on Ugas's old ass. And then when that scar tissue activated because of the Errol Spence fight, he took advantage and he was able to drop him toward the end again, which is great. So it was a good ass whooping. Ugas got dusted, and it might be time to fucking hang it up, Ugas, because unless you're fighting Jamal James or some shit, a lot of these dudes gonna whoop your ass. So you better move it or lose it.
Yeah, I was just kind of surprised, that eye injury definitely came back. But Ugas, he definitely got beat up bad, and I don't want to see him back anymore. I think he's completely finished.
Oh,
and,
damn.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to be rude, like if anybody's like a big, Cuban fan of him, but it's just like, the truth is like I don't want to see him get killed. Like I want to see him do fine, but it's like Barrios basically did what Errol Spence did to you again. Like he was beating you up, and his skills pay the bills. So I'd say his body's just completely damaged. He's damaged goods at this point.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing, especially when it comes to when it comes to facial when it comes to facial injuries. That's the thing. Even though yeah, especially when it comes to maxillofacial injuries, even though you've gone through the surgeries and everything that's happened, you have a lot of residual scar tissue there. Even when it comes to common cuts, if you take a fighter like Anthony Durrell has become prone to cuts because that's where he's been repeatedly headbutt. And even though the tissue heals, there's permanent scar tissue under there from the dead skin and the dead cells that were exposed and bleeding out of you. So his orbital bone was broken. And not only does he have residual scar tissue from just the injury, but also the surgery. Because the surgery, they have to go in there, they have to open it up, they have to scrape away anything that's dead, they have to fix the actual orbital bone and sew that back together, and then they have to close it all up. So some of that flesh is going to continue to die until the injury finally heals. So that's going to be permanent. It's kind of like Kell Brook. Kell Brook has two fucking broken. He had two broken orbital bones. So whenever he's in a fight, his shit always swells up. Same as Anthony Durrell constantly getting cut. And you can see this with plenty of other fighters. You can see this with, plenty of other fighters that have been headbutt before, where their eyes keep swelling, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, you might be right. He's 37 years old. He's got 6 losses. And unless he plans on moving up in weight and hoping that there's some more power that's going to come, yeah, at welterweight, I mean, he loses to a lot of these dudes. Like, I don't want to see him fight Boots. That's fucking waste of time. Butayev and Stanos would have whooped his ass if they had fought. Butayev will beat him. I mean, actually, I said Jamal James, but I think Ugas already beat up Jamal James. I think Jamal James fought him on short notice and Ugas whooped his ass. So yeah, unless you want to do a rematch like that, it might be over with.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather just be honest rather than lie, because it's the same thing with any other fighter that I'm a fan of or fighters that I don't like. I'm going to be honest, like, you're not that good. You keep getting beat up like this, you're automatically going to die.
Yeah, I think Ugas got to be very realistic about his options here. If he was smart, because this doesn't really happen that often, he would take his Spence money and take his Pacquiao money, because this nigga done fought Pacquiao and Spence. He should have plenty of bread. He should take that and then become the new promoter and access point for all Cuban fighters. And then he could have a promotional firm, and he can shepherd Cuban fighters from Cuba through the process of immigration. He could establish a camp for them. He could basically recreate what Herman Caicedo did in Florida, but do it in Vegas. And he could sign all them little motherfuckers. He could sign Ramirez. He could sign, well, I don't know if he's gonna sign Morel, because Morel already making good money with Showtime. But all the other little ones like Andy Cruz that are kind of like wayward, he can sign all of them and make sure they have good network deals now that he knows how to do big business. Like, that's a great opportunity. But instead, this nigga want to keep fighting for some reason and keep losing. So I don't know.
Yeah, like, I'd like to do that. Like, I definitely like that idea. Like, I would even like to see David Morrell do that too, because I'm pretty sure he would like to, open up like a stable like that. But I just feel like, yeah,
intellectually speaking, I don't think Morrell is there yet. He's still basically a kid. He's like 25.
Yeah.
So I don't think he has enough business experience, because he hasn't really had any big fights. I mean, his only big fights have been at the Armory in Minnesota, and I'm not saying that's disrespect Minnesota, but he was fighting against decent competition. Ados, your Boston Ali, was cool, and he beat the hell out of him. I think he damn near killed him, but that's not, he's not, his business acumen isn't on par to where he can actually successfully take care of other people, because he still doesn't even have 10 fights yet. So I don't think he knows enough of the necessary information to be able to conduct business at that level on behalf of other people. So I don't think he's there yet, but let him get some more experience. Maybe let him get a Benavidez fight under his belt, and then maybe he'll understand something.
Yeah. I think eventually, somebody will try to come up with like a good solution. But yeah, like I'd say for Ugas, hang it up, start that promotional, networking stable, and see some other new talent, that's probably good one day, that could easily make a good amount of money, and expand, let the fighting legacy, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, and also go send for your kids, nigga. Like, I understand you made all this money, you got your bad bitch and everything, and that's great. But your kids shouldn't be over there suffering in Cuban poverty while you over here living in a life of luxury in Las Vegas. Go get your kids, man. Go get your damn kids. Put together a little mercenary task force and have some boats waiting off the coast at dawn or something, and get your kids out of there too. Come on, bro. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, let's talk about the next fight that was on the main card. Elijah Garcia stopping Armando Resendez. What is your thoughts on that?
Yes, I picked Elijah Garcia to win, and he did. I was very happy to see it. I didn't like how he conducted himself, though. That was kind of stupid. The lack of head movement was obscene. All Resendez was doing was having a steady work rate, working off the jab, and he was hitting Elijah way too flush. Even had him leaking for a little bit there. But no, I was confident in Elijah Garcia. Not only does he hit hard, he's a southpaw, so he's a little bit more awkward than your traditional orthodox fighter. I mean, Resendez getting over on Jared Hurd at Jared Hurd stage in his career, that shit didn't impress me. First of all, Jared Hurd has never been someone that's known for his defense. Second of all, he had multiple lackluster showings far before that, so that shit didn't like impress me at all. And I figured Elijah would clear him, and he did. It was very very entertaining fight. Lots of punches thrown. I didn't like the lack of defense or jabs from Garcia, so hopefully he fixes that because once he upgrades his competition, he might mess around and get smoked. Like they're at middleweight right now. I know he got over on Amilcar Vidal, which is cool, and middleweight's kind of shitty right now. But like, let's say if Charles Conwell decided to move up to middleweight, yeah, no, Elijah, dude, don't you can't be playing those games when with other people. Like even Jermell Charlo would get over on Elijah. So we gotta all things considered. So he's got to be careful. But no, definitely good, definitely promising in the division right now while it's still weak. He could probably get a belt. He'll probably get a belt to be honest. Unless everybody just fights Janabek. But yeah, no. I mean, shit. Even him and Janabek would be interesting. With the lack of head movement, I give it to Janabek right now. But if he works on those things, that could be really something.
Ammo might be able to beat him because, like, I saw Ammo fight, on the Hitchens Zapata card, and like,
Right.
yeah, like just by looking at the styles, like I think Ammo has a good chance to knock him out, and Elijah has a good chance to knock him out, and I think both of them are going to be crazy enough to like land that one big shot to like have like a shootout.
I'm not gonna lie. I watched the Hitchens fight, but I missed Ammo's fight because I was running around doing stuff. But I gotta go back and watch it. But Ammo, I have seen some decline in him since he parted ways with Kevin Cunningham. I don't like it. So I gotta see what he looked like that last fight because I still haven't watched it. But you're absolutely right about Ammo. If Ammo gets his head on straight, gets some of his hand speed was his best attribute. And when he fought, what's that guy named Kieran Conway? I did not see enough of it, and I feel like that's been something that's been steadily declining with Ammo. So, but yeah, but no, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I definitely like what I saw from Elijah, especially because he knocked his ass out. That double right hook was crazy. That was some good stuff, and he finished him. I thought the stoppage was a little premature. I would have preferred that Garcia go in and actually finish him off, but it is it's Tony Weeks. But yeah, still a very entertaining fight.
Yeah, I just saw Armando had a little bit of fight left in him, and I wanted to see Elijah, knock him out because I knew Elijah, was at the, he was at the stronger puncher out of the two, but Resendez had good heart until he was being like dumb, taking unnecessary blows, and then that's when Elijah was like actually hurting him.
Well, Elijah punches hard. Elijah punches much harder than Resendez. Resendez relies on, overwhelming volume, whereas Elijah actually punches pretty hard. And that's why Resendez couldn't take it. He thought for the first few rounds, okay, I got his power. I'll just outwork him. And then he started getting hit too clean, and as you can see, he could barely keep his hands up. So, that's one thing. Elijah Garcia is a thudding puncher. That's why every time, like when Resendez would hit Elijah, Elijah would move around, but barely really his feet wouldn't really move that much. Every time Elijah connected, Resendez would like move back, like, oh shit. And then his head kept popping back. That's one of the things that even the commentators were talking about. They were like, oh, it's damn, every time he gets his goddamn head keeps popping back. So yeah, that's something they gotta be cognizant of. But Resendez is cool. I like Resendez. I want to see him back. He could do some interesting stuff. Definitely a good test for anybody coming up in weight. Anybody coming up, go see Resendez. If you can get past him, he might do something. If he beats you, sit your ass back down somewhere.
Man, I want to see Armando Resendez go up against I'd probably say maybe like Amilcar Vidal, or I'm down with like a like a Austin Ammo Williams or Nikita a Bobby or Shane Mosley Jr.
Oh God, not Shane Mosley Jr. Shane Mosley Jr. is ass. Nah, yeah, yeah. Let him fight Nikita. Yeah, let Nikita earn a damn paycheck. They calling that dude white chocolate or whatever. Yeah, let him earn something. That motherfucker. He was really supposed to be something, and he just fell off the face of the earth. Like what the hell, man? I swear, DAZN just props these dudes up and then does nothing with them. Like they disappear for a year and then come back and have one fight and then disappear again. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just crazy because it's like I'm like not really believing in DAZN fighters anymore, and I feel like the PBC guys always do a pretty good job with proving themselves. And surprisingly, that the better fighters are usually like the ones that don't be talking, and they just go out there and fight. So I mean, that's why that I like Elijah Garcia a lot, because he did some really good work, just in like a span of like 1 year. So I mean, I'm proud of him. Like I would hope that I could get like a showing with him, because I know, me and him were trying to get something, linked up together. But he's always busy and he's always staying focused. So that's like everything that I could definitely respect out of like a fighter. Because like as long as you test yourself, like the right way, and you just keep getting better with like the right people around you, then I feel like anything is possible to be successful.
Yeah, Elijah Garcia, and the good thing about Elijah is that not only is he young, but he looks like a middleweight. He looks like a healthy, regular middleweight where he can make 160 for a long time. He looks like he's supposed to be fighting at middleweight because he was talking about. They were talking about how he could potentially make 154. Don't do that, dude. Don't try to weight drain yourself like all these other guys. Oh, let me fight 2-3 weight classes below where I'm supposed to fight at for the sake of just holding just easier competition or not having to face punchers. No, dude, you can crack. You look healthy. Weighing in looks easy because he weighed in like a pound under. Stay and grow into 160. Whoop all the ass you can. Even try to get a fight with Janibek because he's about either he's about to unify or he's already unified. I don't remember when the fuck his fight. When the fuck he was supposed to fight that other random dude who got a middleweight title. But yeah, nah, man. Just stay where you're at because you're on a good track here. You're definitely on a good track here. Yeah, Janibek. I'm trying to look at his damn box rec. What the shit? Why is box rec being weird?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Like I think the site's broken.
Okay, now I found it. Yeah, he unifies with this random dude, Vincenzo Gualtieri, on the 14th of this month, and he's about to he's about to take the IBF world title from this random ass dude.
Yeah, that's just crazy, man. Yeah, like I was just gonna move forward with the next fight for the co-main event. What's your thoughts with Erickson Lubin having that decision against Jesus Ramos Jr.?
Oh yeah, that was funny. So that was a situation where I picked Jesus Ramos to win, but I wanted Lubin to win. I thought Jesus Ramos honestly was probably going to stop Lubin late, but no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. So as a person that picked Jesus Ramos, Lubin absolutely won that fight. The commentary was smoking complete meth the entire first five. Lubin swept the first half. He swept the first half. Jesus Ramos kind of tried to pick up the pace toward the middle rounds, but then he took the late rounds off because he's not used to going 12. He doesn't have a lot of experience with 12-round fights. He's been getting a lot of knockouts. Lubin is the single most skilled fighter that he's ever fought, and he lost. It happens. They even said that he was taking, he took some rounds off, and he left it up to the judges because he thought he did enough. The reality is he didn't do enough. I don't know why I need to keep explaining this to people, but simply marching forward and dictating the pace doesn't mean anything if you're not landing shots. The in-fight the in-fight punch counts. I don't know what they were looking at, but luckily the judges were there and they saw what was actually happening because despite going backwards, despite being on the ropes, Lubin was winning the fight. Lubin was effectively jabbing, disrupting rhythm, landed shots to the body. Ramos, you can't win a fight by flurrying toward the end of a round and thinking you swept the round with that flurry. Y'all should have learned this from Brian Castano when he fought Charlo the first time. Brian Castano, the reason why he couldn't successfully win the fight is because he would wait to the last 25 seconds of every round, throw a quick flurry to try to land 3, 4, 5 punches real quick, and then try to walk off like you stole the round. No. Fights are not scored by punches landed. They are scored by rounds won, and Lubin won the majority of the rounds. I don't. Maybe Oscar De La Hoya taught y'all that forward pressure without being effective does something. But yeah, no. If you're not successfully landing a bunch of punches and you're missing, or you're just stepping forward, or it's bouncing off elbows and shoulders and shit, no, you're not winning the round. You're looking flashy, but you're not actually doing anything. Lubin kept a steady jab in his face, kept the body working on the inside, did his best to keep the fight in the center, and he just outboxed him. It is what it is. I picked Ramos to win, and I was wrong. Lubin won, and luckily the judges saw that. And Mauro Ranallo and all you weird-ass dudes, shut the fuck up. Y'all have seen plenty of actual robberies and never had that much energy. Talking about, oh, this is a robbery, and Lubin got gifted a decision. Fuck you. Shut up. Y'all have witnessed a horrific, how y'all didn't say that shit with Cobra versus Rayo. The fuck? To me, this was a clear Lubin win. Rayo versus Cobra was actually super duper close. And I mean, well, I wouldn't say close. I thought Rayo edged it personally because Cobra kept getting dropped. None of them said that Cobra was gifted a decision and all this. But shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Ain't nobody trying to hear that shit.
Yeah, because I would initially when I heard the decision, I was thinking Ramos won, but then once I looked at the rounds that Lubin was actually winning, I was like, wow, Lubin's actually outboxing him, and I was thinking inside my head, wait, Lubin's actually controlling him too. Ramos looked way bigger than him, and he looked like he was landing a lot more heavy thudding shots, but Lubin was controlling him, and I don't think Lubin was really there to just try to knock him out. He was really there to outbox him, and if he hurts him, he hurts him. But he's not that's not his style. He actually was listening to Kevin Cunningham, and Kevin Cunningham was telling him use that jab. You're good at using the jab, and I've been saying that for the past 4 or 5 fights, out of Lubin's career, and Lubin has a great jab. Nobody can't mess with him when his jab is on point. When he's not being disciplined and he's just trying to do let the rock'em sock'em, robot type of fighting, that's where Lubin gets knocked out.
No, I agree. And also one thing that Kevin Cunningham kept saying during the fight, and it's funny because you could tell Kevin Cunningham used to be a goddamn detective because his voice is so distinct. He kept yelling, "Back to the center! Back to the center!" He kept yelling back to the center. And that's another thing. If you're a fighter that needs your opponent to be against the ropes for you to land any effective punching, that says everything. Even the commentators, as biased as they were, they kept saying, "Oh, Lubin's back on the ropes." I'm like, yeah, if Jesus Ramos needs his opponents to be on the ropes to fucking hit them, that's a bad sign. That means that when your opponent has places to walk, when they can effectively move, you're not hitting anything. The fight wasn't fought. The fight wasn't fought the majority on the ropes. And even when Lubin was on the ropes, they make it seem like he was doing nothing. He was countering. He was countering. He was jabbing. He was landing right hooks to the body, and he was turning Ramos as well. And like I said, luckily the judges saw that. Another important point is that this is a southpaw situation. So, I understand that people believe that southpaws are just more skilled, and they're still following that fucking lie. Okay, yeah, whatever. But southpaws struggle with other southpaws, and Lubin had more experience. He had more experience with more people, was more athletic, was faster, quicker on the draw, and he was first. And he kept the fight where it needed to be, and he countered effectively. If you look at Jesus Ramos versus Vladimir Hernandez, who was another southpaw, prior to the knockout, Vladimir Hernandez was putting in work on Jesus Ramos. He was putting in work. And the only and I mean it was great that Ramos happened to stop him because Hernandez had never been stopped before, but he was putting in work on him, and it was only because he was throwing so many punches he opened himself up, and he's already basically like a journeyman kind of, you know, he's a good workman, but he's a journeyman fighter, and he's been known to lose, but he got over on J Rock, you know, even though J Rock at that stage in his career was meh. But yeah, even Vladimir Hernandez was putting in work on Jesus Ramos. So somebody like Lubin fucking around and beating him, it's not terrible. It's not a terrible loss. It's one loss. And yeah, if your boxing skills aren't up to par to where you're gonna whine every time you lose a fucking decision, then yeah, start knocking dudes out. He's right. Don't leave it in the judge's hands no more. Start knocking dudes out. That's how you gotta train sometimes. Then you know, like look at fighters like Naoya Inoue. Inoue doesn't train to box with dudes. Does he have the ability to box? Sure, but he trains for stoppages. That's what he does. That's how he trains. He does not train to box. He trains to stop people. So yeah, if you're gonna bitch or you're worried that your boxing skills may not be up to par with some of the other guys, yeah, start stopping dudes. Because Lubin is there to be knocked out. You just couldn't do it. Lubin's been knocked out by other people. Just you couldn't do it. That's a skill issue, my friend. You know, you can't blame the judges every time some shit don't go in their way. It's just like Loma and Devin Haney. Haney can be knocked out. Loma's knocked out people before. Why couldn't you stop him? You just weren't that good. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I think people just like hype too much up off of like power punchers against another like boxer puncher to say, oh well, that guy's been knocked out like 3-4 times compared to this guy. You know, he hasn't been knocked out yet, but based off of like triangle theory, you know, like the political beliefs, you know, we have to automatically say that a fighter that has been, you know, stopped multiple times in their career compared to another fighter who hasn't stepped up in competition against another good fighter means that that fighter can beat that fighter because of, you know, X, Y, and Z like nonsensical, you know, points.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you want to say Lubin is chinny and da 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 da, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's fine. But that makes Jesus Ramos look bad that he couldn't pull it off. These other people had no issue knocking out Erickson Lubin. Why couldn't you do it? If you're that good and you deserve the decision, why couldn't you just stop him? Like that's like why couldn't you do it? He's been stopped. I mean, Charlo stopped him in one fucking punch. What the fuck is your excuse, Jesus? Yeah, people need to just get over it, man. Jesus wasn't robbed. He didn't do enough. It's the reality of the situation. And again, I picked Jesus to win that fight, and I was wrong. He fucking lost. He got outboxed because it's not what he does. He's a decent boxer, but he relies more on his power. And if that's the case, then you need to fight like it. Because there's fighting to box, and then there's fighting to stop people. Fighting to stop people involves taking more risk. It involves getting closer. It involves being more active. It involves working off your jab, pushing people backwards, and then capitalizing. There's different shot selection that goes into it. You're exerting more energy. You have to be prepared to do those things if you want to get the stoppage. You know, so he says, "Oh, just take it out of the judge's hands." Okay, good. Start stopping more dudes. If you're not stopping more dudes, either your power isn't really cracking on shit, or there's a massive skill deficiency that you need to work on. But you know, don't let these dudes fucking I got robbed and and you know gas you up into making mistakes. No, just adjust, make the adjustments necessary. Be more active. Don't let people beat you to the punch. Stop looking at people trying to be a counterpuncher if that's not what you do. Be first. That's why boxing coaches say that. Be first. In the spaces where you're looking at someone or biting off of a feint, you can punch. I've never understood why when it comes to feinting, if you're being feinted as opposed to biting on the feint, punch on the feint. As opposed to biting or moving or flinching, make the punch your default reaction. So if someone's feinting at you, punch. And take up those spaces, take up those gaps in time with a punch. Don't just look at him with your hands up like you're fucking Canelo or some shit. No, you're not. You can lose. Canelo cannot do anything during a round and still win that round. You're fucking Jesus Ramos, bro. No, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. Before we get to Canelo, one good fight that I like to see out of Jesus Ramos at 154 is probably Yoelvis Gomez. But if anything, I wouldn't mind to see a fight between the winner of Tim Tszyu and Brian Castano.
You mean Brian Mendoza?
Oh yeah. Brian Mendoza. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, Ramos actually beat Mendoza. He beat him by decision.
Yeah. I was just like suggesting those possible fights.
But Castano fight is good. That's I mean not off of a well yeah actually because Brian Castano hasn't done shit since he fucking lost. In fact, I think Brian Castano might move up to middleweight if I'm being honest because his I don't know if his fat ass can even make weight anymore. But yeah no that is a good idea. Or yeah Tim Tszyu that wouldn't be terrible. Um, but yeah he's definitely got to go back to the drawing board, make some adjustments. Yoelvis Gomez, I don't know about him because he got comprehensively outboxed by a dude with zero knockouts. And I understand that it's boxing and not knockout, but if you don't have any power to worry about and you're supposed to be some kind of puncher, that shit was fucking embarrassing. I mean, that was like the worst. Like, Yoelvis Gomez has the boxing IQ of a fucking squirrel. Like I don't know, man. It's like I don't know. I may yeah. Elvis needs to start from scratch and fight some bitch dude. Like he needs to fight like James Martin or somebody to just see what the hell he's really working with. Because I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because I think 154 is like a really unpredictable division. So I think like eventually like it's probably gonna be like maybe like a good set of like maybe 10 guys or less that are gonna be good. And after that it's just gonna like rinse and repeat because there's gonna be like massive amounts of guys that are gonna like upset each other.
Well, I'll tell you this: if Terrence Crawford come up there, that shit is over because he Terrence Crawford is wiping everybody out at 154. That's not Jermell Charlo, and even him, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. We don't know what version of Jermell we're gonna see, but yeah, no, those dudes better get the cracking and squabbling before Terrence Crawford get up there and start fucking people up.
Yeah. Now let's get right to the main event with Charlo versus Canelo. Yeah, like I guess I'll go first and then you'll go second. Um, I was pretty upset that Charlo fought like that. I felt like it felt like a movie that was scripted, but it just didn't look like I saw these two quote unquote guys that were talking smack for a long time actually wanting to kill each other in the ring. Um, I do believe Canelo was trying, but then once I saw what Charlo was doing and what Canelo was doing, it felt like two brothers that were just like not going at it with each other.
Yeah, you know, this fight was some unmitigated, unadulterated ass juice. It was fucking awful. It was awful to look at. The buildup wasn't even good. People weren't excited about it. And it's probably because they were concerned about some shit like this happening. Like, first off, with most Canelo fights, there's going to be some controversy. Like, even with the Bivol fight, when you looked at the scorecards at the end, they were trying to fucking rob Bivol. If Bivol had lost one more round, they were getting ready to make it a draw. I think they gave Canelo like 4 fucking rounds when in reality he didn't win more than 1 or 2. So yeah, even in fights where Canelo gets washed, there's always some goddamn controversy. But with this shit, like, I mean, come on, bro. Like, he's making the title defense against a champion that's a career 154 pounder. So not only is he 2 weight classes below you, but he's never even been to 160. When Canelo fought Rocky Fielding for his first fight at 168, Canelo had at least been at 160 for a little bit. He had fought Jacobs, he had fought Triple G, he had fought some fucking people, and even Fielding was a catchweight, I think. So that was one thing. Number 2, this is his first fight on a multi-fight PBC contract. Do you really think they're gonna have him come in here and potentially lose the first fight and ruin all their good faith? No, they're not. That wasn't gonna happen. So yeah, it was all fucking theatrics. It was a lot of bullshit. Charlo, from the opening round, I could see the game plan. He was not establishing the jab. He wasn't standing his ground. He was focused on moving around. He wasn't punching with Canelo. He left his uppercut at fucking home. He only threw the left hook twice. Like, it was just terrible. And even Canelo couldn't sell it either. Canelo wasn't in there trying to fucking hurt him. Canelo was barely throwing. When he had him on the ropes, he didn't throw as much. He wasn't as consistent with his punching. He like you could tell when Canelo's trying to get someone out of there. Like with Callum Smith, he was trying to get Callum Smith the fuck up out of there. How could you tell? Callum Smith was beat up. Callum Smith got beat up a lot. Even Ryder. Right, all Ryder did was sit in his chest and throw the uppercut. That's all Ryder did. And Canelo was legitimately trying to hurt Ryder. He dropped Ryder 3 times and was on his ass. Canelo was trying to fight back against Bivol. Bivol was just too good. Bivol just threw too many punches. Canelo was more focused on making sure he didn't get his goddamn nose broken than throwing at Bivol. So Bivol shut all that shit down. But with Charlo, Canelo wasn't in there really trying to hurt Charlo like that, and Charlo wasn't trying to fight either. This is one of those situations where, all right, guys, this is a big fight. All we need you to do, Canelo's making this comeback on Showtime. We just need you to go in there, slide to a L, and don't get hurt. Like, there wasn't a single scratch on either one of them. It was the lamest. It was one of the lamest fucking fights in goddamn history. And the thing is, you could tell the difference between a legitimate fight and some bullshit. With Bud and Spence, there was blood every fucking where. It looked like somebody got shot. These two didn't even scratch each other. It was pathetic. At no point did anybody go off. There was no urgency on either fighter's part. Canelo walking with his hands down, throwing the same weak ass punches, barely throwing his jab. Like it was just a lot of bullshit. It was bullshit on both sides. They both make me fucking sick. Like especially Charlo talking all that lines only bullshit. Like I knew Charlo was gonna get the lay down talk, but I thought he was the kind of nigga that wouldn't go along with it. He would upset the program and make some shit shake. But no, he went in there and he did exactly as he was instructed. And then Canelo is on some bullshit for even orchestrating this nonsense. Should have just fought Benavidez with your lame ass.
Yeah, because like I was just disappointed. I really wanted to see Charlo, become the second male 2-division undisputed world champion to break history next to Terrence Crawford. But it just felt like he didn't want it, and it just felt like it was all fake, and I wasn't happy about it. I feel like if that was David Morrell or Benavidez, they definitely would have came in to knock out Canelo. And Canelo fighting the way he fights, that's not something normal that he usually does. He usually fights pretty defensively responsible, but he was just going in there trying to act like he's gonna knock out Charlo, but they were only going like less than 25%.
They both barely threw any punches. Like they both didn't do anything. Canelo didn't have to keep his hands up because he knew Charlo wasn't planning on hurting him. Like he knew Charlo was not planning on doing anything. And even the commentators were like, they're both not throwing any punches. Like I think in one round, Canelo threw like single digit fucking punches. Nobody was doing anything. This is bullshit. Because the thing is, you can't risk hurting Canelo because that hurts your business relationship, and you can't risk hurting Charlo because Charlo got to come back down to 154 and make it do what it do. You got to fight Tim Tszyu for fucking. I think he got stripped, so I don't know who's got to fight for undisputed. I think they're fighting over that vacant Tim Tszyu and Brian Mendoza. You got to fight Tim Tszyu, and then you got to see Bud. There's a lot more fights that could be made, and both of these guys can't afford to get hurt. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna slide you to an easy L. Just dance and don't get hurt. Take the decision L, take all this money that we're giving you, and then go back down to 154 and actually try to fight. And then Canelo will do whatever he wants. So it was just fucking lame. It was just lame. Like people, and all the people goading Canelo, like a lot of the race fans and a lot of the people who haven't been watching boxing that long. I'm like, you can tell when there's a legitimate fight going on and there's some bullshit. Like even with the Ryder fight, Ryder was trying to fucking win. It's just that Ryder sucks so much ass that he couldn't. But you could tell Canelo's in there trying to whoop his ass. There was blood everywhere. There was blood on both sides. People were actually fighting. These two were not trying to hurt each other. They were just trying to put on a show, make it look convincing. Like it was terrible. Like Charlo wasn't trying to fight Canelo, and Canelo wasn't even trying to fight Charlo. He was just trying to do enough to win the rounds. That's it. He wasn't trying to fucking hurt Charlo. He wasn't.
Huge big shout out to TS Boxing, aka Tyrone. He said Jermell didn't even give it a go, probably scared. Yeah, to even add on to that, I was just surprised that none of these guys were actually landing like devastating punches where either guy was like really trying to kill each other. And with my experience with like seeing boxing fights in person, I can tell when a guy actually is hurting somebody, because when you hear like those big shots that sound like gunshots, right? When power shots are being thrown, like they're like throwing like massive force into it, and it's like when the fighter does get hurt, everybody goes and skin over it. But it's like I can tell when a guy's actually throwing a punch with bad intention, and it's like when you hear the shots land, that's when like the fight is on. But it's like with this fight just felt like like the movie Grudge Match, with Sylvester Stallone in it, right? Where like both guys are not even like going at it; they're just doing it for publicity.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was very weak. It was very weak on both sides. And then like Canelo is known. Like Canelo is Mexican. At least we assume. Given his ginger status, but Canelo is easy. Mexicans are known for the left. The liver tap, the left hook to the liver. He was like hitting Charlo in the ass, hitting him on the side. It was just a lot of stupid shit. I'm like, no, this fight is some bullshit. If Canelo really wanted to get in there and put it on Charlo, he could have. And if Charlo really wanted to get in there and show off his skills against Canelo, he could have. But both those dumbasses agreed beforehand not to get in there and hurt each other, because there's a lot of money to be made with their careers continuing. We need to make Canelo look good. You can take another loss at 168 on some daring to be great bullshit. Canelo can be goaded off of this nonsense, and then you can go back down to 154 and fucking and do what you're doing. And fight Zoo and fight Crawford or whatever the fuck. So it was just a lot of lame bullshit. It was bogus. It was truly bogus. Like I believe the same thing happened with the Plant fight. The difference is Plant just slid on a punch and got knocked out. Like I think that they made kind of the same agreement ish kind of. Because if you look at Plant's performance versus Benavidez, who's bigger, stronger, and throws more punches than Canelo, versus actual Canelo, like come on, bro. Like come on, bro. Be for real.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And on top of that, I just feel like, honestly, like a guy like Jermall Charlo, if he was not having his like personal issues and everything, if he was really on that demon mode to actually beat Canelo up, like you said, he wanted to get that fight, and let's just say let's just say Canelo fights Jermall Charlo and Jermall Charlo does better than Jermell, and let's just say he smokes, Canelo, then that's all that I need to see out of, Canelo and Jermell, because it's like this is obviously politicized in a way where the fans basically got fooled as a stunt to say like, oh, Canelo beat Jermall Charlo's brother, so that means that Canelo is basically better than the Charlo brothers. But then it's like, let's just say if Jermell Charlo goes back down to 154 and he smokes Crawford and Tim Tszyu, combined off of those two wins, then that just shows that Jermell Charlo had a secret agreement with Canelo to allow that loss to happen. So therefore, both of them can make more money. But then on top of that, let's just say if they see each other for like a rematch and they're actually throwing hands, and then let's just say Jermell beats Canelo decisively, then that basically goes back to our argument heading into the past.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I would love to see some shit like that play out, but let's be honest with ourselves. Jermall Charlo can't even stand up to his wife. I seriously do not think he's going to get in there at this stage in his career at 168 and legitimately do something with Canelo. I feel like if the same deal was brought to him, he'd probably take it and maybe even agree to get knocked out because of just where he is at in his career at the time. Been over 2 years since he's had a fight. He's not defending shit at middleweight anymore. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, my ideal scenario for this was that Jermell Charlo get a hard-fought decision against Canelo, and Canelo like retires or goes into like a multi-year sabbatical because he just got shitted on by a 154. So I figured that Charlo would come in and get like maybe a majority decision or a split decision even against Canelo. That would embarrass him and send him away. And then because his brother is such a pussy, Jermell Charlo would challenge Jermall Charlo both at 168 for like the first ultimate twin brother battle in history for 168 undisputed. They both make a lot of money. There's a lot of money driven by the fanfare because there's two twins fucking fighting, which doesn't really happen. It'd be like some Dragon Ball Z type shit. But you know that's too much. Like that's too much in fantasy land. So none of it happened. These niggas just took the money and ran. So it's whatever. But that really brings down their stock in my eyes. Like Canelo didn't really have much stock with me because he's never fought who the fuck I wanted him to fight in the first place. So that's him. But Jermell's stock dropped some for me personally. Like I don't really give Canelo a lot of credit for doing that because he didn't really do shit. If he had went in there and stopped the Jermell that was actually trying to fight him, yeah, that might be a little bit more impressive, even though still the weight class differential. But Jermell stock has dropped in my eyes, and you got to come back and knock out Tim Tszyu or Terrence Crawford or some fucking body and also let's not get it twisted. There's a very realistic possibility Terrence Crawford will get in there and handle Jermell like badly. So Jermell got to come back and really fucking show me something because this shit is getting fucked up. And Jermall, if Jermall don't knock out Jose Benavidez within 10 fucking rounds, I'm done. If anything other than that happens, like even if he goes the distance and wins a unanimous decision, like get the fuck out of here, Jermall. Like Jose Benavidez is trash. He's never been good. He's one of the shittiest fighters currently fucking fighting, and he's a former welterweight. Come on, dog. Like the fact that Benavidez is fighting Andrade and not you getting slapped in the face by a plant. Like get the fuck out of here, man. This shit is embarrassing. Not only as a boxing fan, but on an ethnic level, as a black person, this shit is fucking tragic. This shit is embarrassing, bro. Like, both of them need to just get some shit straight, for real.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Shout out to TS Boxing with this comment. He said Jermell will still beat Tszyu, but can't beat Crawford. And he said Jermell was way too overrated by fans, undisputed in the cake division. And I've been saying for years, Jermell even knows it. Jermell is much better talent, but what's been going on in Jermell's head, who knows? Honestly,
that's not fair. Yeah, I agree with everything you said except 154 being a cake division. That's not a good assessment.
Yeah, 154 is not a cake division, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like, I think like I pretty much hashed out whatever I needed to say, but like I'm hoping Jermell Charlo gets more victories, in the future. I think Canelo, he's probably gonna end up, getting all these like, politicized victories, and if he does get upsetted by Benavidez or David Morrell or anybody good at 168 in the coming future, then I won't be surprised because I think Canelo's just trying to max out before he gets, laid out.
He's not fighting them niggas. He's not going to fight Benavidez. He's not going to fight Andrade, and he's certainly not going to fight David Morrell Jr. because he loses to all three of them. And this fight, if anything, showed me that. Imagine that version of Canelo in there against any of the people that I named, even fucking Andrade. Like, come on, bro. No, he's not fighting any of those fucking dudes.
Canelo will fight Edgar Berlanga next. Watch.
he'll fight fucking Berlanga. He'll fight Shishkin. He'll fight Munguia before fighting any of the motherfuckers I just named.
Yeah, it's just crazy because it's like, if belts do matter in the sport, can we not have like a say to say that Canelo's not trying to honor his actual mandatories that actually want to knock him off?
I mean, that's how it's always been. He hasn't fucking. I mean, he was at 154 with these dudes, and he was actually a mandatory for Andrade. He chose to wait till Andrade lost his belt, and then he went and fought Liam Smith for the shit. I don't even remember Canelo's last legitimate mandatory defense. I truly don't. Like even when he beat Matthew Haddon for the 154 title back in fucking 2012 or 2011, whatever the fuck that was. I legitimately do not remember any legitimate mandatory defense where someone fought their way into a mandatory position and then Canelo fought them because they earned their way there. Like John Ryder off of a fucking Jacobs win, like get the fuck out of here. Fucking what's his name? Avni Yildirim. Like, come on, dog. No, no, like no. I've never like only when it's them. When it's John Ryder and Abney Durham, okay, mandatories matter. When it's David Benavidez, David Moreau Jr., fucking Charlo, mandatories are shit. They don't matter. When it's even Sergey Deverenchenko, he didn't even want to fight him for the IBF. It was like come on, like no.
Yeah, TS said Jermell's admitted he was only 172 on the day of the fight. That's way too little. Jermell is bigger than Canelo, so Canelo gets credit. Yeah, to finalize this, like I don't know if you can agree, but I think at this point, like size really doesn't matter in boxing. It's just really skill. Like, like if Floyd Mayweather, if he can be crazy enough to fight, any fighter that's bigger than him and he beats him up that actually like has good skill, then I think like it's pretty much fair to say like whoever's just the better skill fighter on fight night in any big fight that any boxing fan wants to see, it's like, it's a skill that matters. It's not just due to like the weight and size of that fighter.
I'm going to disagree, and specifically because first off, with this comment talking about 172, yeah, Canelo used to reinflate to damn near super middleweight or light heavyweight back when he was at 154. So you can't tell me that that didn't have a massive effect on some of the people that he fought, especially guys like Amir Khan. Because Amir Khan was winning every second of that fight until he got stopped. Now, you can say that wasn't a size or skill issue. That was a chin issue, which is fine. But, the size thing does matter. Second of all, what's most important is your timing and your speed because you're not acclimated to that weight. Your nervous system isn't acclimated to that weight. Effectively, if you're going up in 20, 14, 15 pounds in weight, that's effectively like having a fight with a weighted vest on you. You're not going to be acclimated. You're not going to be used to it. That's why most people don't make weight jumps that quickly. That's why Canelo made sure he fought at 154. Then he fought at 155. Then he fought at then he fought at 160. Then he fought at 165. Then he fought at 168. Then he fought at 175. Like he made sure he made the incremental steps because you have to get acclimated. You have to get used to it. He didn't just fucking jump from he didn't just jump from like welterweight or 154 to 168 or something like that because you don't know how you're going to operate. You don't know how your gas tank is going to be. So weight does matter. I mean, skill, of course, is the single most important thing because that determines how you handle these different variables. But to say that size doesn't matter is a bit of a misnomer. Like yeah, like for example, if Callum Smith was smaller, he probably would have got knocked out. It's because he was so tall and because he was so big and because he was so lanky, he was able to defend himself just enough to survive 12. If he was smaller, probably would have got obliterated. If he was like the size of if he was the same size as his brother, Liam Smith, probably got knocked out. So yeah, so size does play a role.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to probably, innovate same day weigh-ins for boxing, and I think that might play like a better difference in fights because, rehydrating to like all that weight just to have that advantage in a fight. Like, I mean, I personally don't believe in weight bullies, but I think like that's where people come up with the weight bully argument to say this fighter looks bigger, after he weighs in, like the day before versus like. If you weigh in day of, you can't have that advantage because your body's already conditioned and it's already sacrificed a lot of its nutrients to be ready to fight, rather than to just, rehydrate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, same day weigh-ins would solve a lot of BS, but I mean, the biggest thing is fighters just gotta start fighting toward their natural weight classes. These dudes nowadays, the standard operating procedure when you come into the pros is to stay as small as possible, cut down 3, 4, 5 weight classes removed from your natural walking around weight, and then slowly go up to try to, gain as many titles as possible, gain as much money as most games. Like, sometimes that shit works and then sometimes that shit doesn't. Like dudes like Shakur, dudes like Crawford, dudes like Haney, like they're cutting down far more than is necessary. Like Bud should not have started off as a lightweight. He even like that. I used to see videos of him trying to make 135, doing those fucking hot baths and shit, looking like cyborg, damn near crying coming out of those hot baths trying to make that weight. Like, and he was always a big guy. He could have come right into 147 straight out. Same with Shakur, same with Haney. They didn't need to cut down. They just did it because they could, and make life a little bit easier. And also be able to leave themselves a better opportunity to get more accolades. Oh, I fought in 3 divisions and 4 divisions. I'm pound for pound. All that shit is cool, but still, even Inoue didn't have to cut down to fucking junior flyweight or flyweight, where the fuck he actually started out at. Like, no, Inoue was bigger than most of the people he fought. And that's part of the reason why I got so many goddamn knockouts now. So yeah, fighters also have to take stock and maybe fight closer to where they're actually supposed to be. Like a 168 pounder is probably something that Canelo was supposed to be this entire time, but he took advantage of being able to get down there, and when it got hot, he just went back up.
Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, all right. Yeah, because like I think you lagged a bit. Sorry.
Oh, do I need to repeat something?
Yeah. Like if you could, like I think like I had like a little cut out.
All I was saying was that fighters nowadays need to fight closer or at their natural weight as opposed to trying to cut down 3 or 4 weight classes for the benefits, for the accolades, and for the opportunities to say, "Oh, I fought in 3 or 4 weight classes," because it's doing them a detriment.
Yeah. That's pretty much. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, like I think that's really how boxing is really dying out. Just doing those crazy weight cuts, and then fighters are able to like use those advantages. But yeah, I think that's about it. If you got any last words to wrap it up, go for it.
No, I'm pretty much done. I mean, outside of so we got Haney versus Regis in December. We got Shakur versus De Los Santos in November. Uh, isn't Keyshawn supposed to be fighting soon?
Yes, October 14th. That's like not this week, but probably next week. And then we got Giovanni Santillan going up against Alexis Roca.
Ooh, that's a super good fight. They both fight very similar. I like Santillan. He fights out of San Diego. Yeah, I like him. That's gonna be good. It's gonna be very interesting. See how Roca handles that.
Yeah, I think Santillan might knock him out.
I don't know if he knocks him out, but I think he definitely might give him a run for his money for sure. But yeah, as far as Charlo, man, get your fucking shit together. Go back down to 154 and show out. I need to knock out your next fight to make up for this shit. As far as Canelo, I don't give a shit what you do. But I need Tank to come back. I need Haney to clear Regis. And well, Tank probably won't be back till next year. But yeah, we got Benavidez versus Andre, which should be good, with Charlo fighting on the undercard. Imagine that. Jermell Charlo fighting on the fucking undercard to Benavidez. That's wild. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's so crazy, man.
Yeah, well, that's all I got.
All right, man. I will see you soon. And yeah, like I think there's like a fight coming up this weekend too. So Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah. Uh, I forgot, but I know that there should be a PBC card going on. I could be wrong off of that. Hold on, let me take a look at that. Because I know, like, this week should be another fight week, but I know next week is, like, the top rank card that's going on for, Robesi, right? Like, I forgot. Oh, actually, Leewood and Warrington, they're gonna fight, but I'm not gonna care for that. Oh, and, Zerto's going up against Joe Smith Jr.
Ah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. Those two fat asses can't seem to make weight. Um, yeah, I don't give a shit about Leewood and Warrington. In fact, I'm tired of Warrington getting repeated title shots after losing. But yeah, I mean, I hope Leewood knocks him out. But as far as Zerto versus Justin, that's actually more interesting than people are giving credit because they're both huge. They're both marginal when it comes to skill set. Zerto's a southpaw, so we'll see how Smith deals with that. Even though they can both punch, that's actually gonna be funny. It's gonna be watching like two goofy dudes fight on a school bus. It's gonna be pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like, I'm hoping that Wood and Warrington just get sacrificed and they're done with boxing.
Yeah, at some point, yeah, Lee Wood's not gonna survive unification. He's gonna get beat by whichever champ he fights.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
Yes, sir. I will see you later. Have a good day.
You too. See ya.
Peace out. All right, y'all. Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to TS Boxing for coming inside of the chat. Appreciate you, brother. And shout out to Bruce Gaz. Thank you. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. This is another good episode in the books. So I'll see you guys later. Here's the outro. Peace out. And peace to the family. Peace, love, liberty, happiness. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.